You must be careful about the words you use, or the words you allow to be used in your house. Words are things. You must be careful. Careful about calling people out of their names, using racial pejoratives and sexual pejoratives and all that ignorance. Don't do that.
It's time to talk about it.
Pull up a chair and take a seat.
We're serving up recipes for life.
With Hampton University's Dr. Richard Mason and Dr. Tamara Williams.
Welcome to the Sunday Brunch.
This is Dr. Tamara Williams.
And I'm Dr. Richard Mason, and welcome to another edition of Sunday Brunch with the Good Doctors. Welcome back to the table, my sister. How have you been?
It's been a busy week, bro. Has it been busy for you as well this week?
It's been real busy. I went and had my sleep study done and got that out of the way and all or whatever. So a couple of doctor's appointments and all. You know, have to make sure that everything is right and in order for homecoming as we welcome everybody back here to our home by the sea.
I'm excited to see the students back. We've just made it through midterms. I'm excited for them to see where they're going and also to have a good time and to see some students I haven't seen in quite some time. Exactly. I've been here 16 years, and so I have I know, we won't put the numbers out there. But I have quite a few students that I'm looking forward to see all the things that they've done and the progression that they've made. So even though it's a busy week, it's an exciting week, and we have some good things happening on campus this week.
Exactly. I tell you, between graduation and homecoming, I'm trying to figure out which is always the best as it relates to seeing people, seeing students, and catching up with them, seeing all of the great things that they're doing, you know.
I'm biased.
As we say, letting their lives do the singing.
Oh, I'm biased. I think it's graduation. It's a beautiful thing to see them accomplish that goal. A lot of people talk about it. It's a whole nother thing to show up and be about it.
You've never worked on the ceremonial occasions committee, have you?
But you know I am a marshal, so I feel like I'm always definitely there anyhow. Yes, indeed. So either way, jokes aside, I'm really excited about our show today. I am too,
especially since we have a guest who typically comes and shares some great things with us, and we know today she has some outstanding people with her today. So, but I'm gonna go to the buffet. And
the food will be good.
You know, I'm gonna get started on the buffet because I saw they just put some more bacon out. So, all right.
Boy, you know how we feel about that bacon.
I know, and I got your biscuit and your honey butter too.
That's all I need in my life right now.
All right.
But outside of that, we do have a good guest today, and she brought some great guests with her today. So I'm excited about our topic today, always talking about the betterment of the people and mental health and the things that can happen for them specifically, but also we're supporting the arts once again.
Exactly,
this Sunday.
exactly.
So that's always exciting.
Yes.
To see how our lives are really been stressful, been happy, all different things, and you can see those things happen in the arts too. So
yes.
I saw this good show once, and I'm excited that it's coming back. So welcome to Sunday Brunch, Dr. Karen Ward.
The illustrious Dr. Karen
The
Ward.
one and the only Dr. Karen Ward.
I need to stop.
You know the love runs thick for you here on this show, Dr.
I
Ward.
love being with you all. Love being here.
Thank you for coming back on the show once again. Sure. And I know we've talked about the play before, but tell everybody about the play that's coming up.
Well, this is a reboot, a rebuild. A Streetcar Named Desire by Tennessee Williams 2.0. Okay.
That may be 3 to 5.0.
Yes, I'm so excited about it. We were able to do the show earlier this year at the American Theater in Phoebus. Had a wonderful audience, a wonderful turnout, and the show was so well received, we decided to remount it for the Hampton audience on our newly renovated theater at Armstrong Hall.
And it's absolutely amazing. I've actually seen the theater. Just the changes alone, I think it's really going to add to the ambiance of the shows that, of course, that you will be bringing with the Repertoire Theater.
The Repertoire.
Yeah, exactly.
Repertoire Theater, yes. It used to be a little theater.
Yes, we're so excited. A Streetcar Named Desire, as when we visited you last time, we told you about the show and the play and how intriguing it is and how it just brings you into the story of the characters. And
we had Dr. Boussaint.
Yeah, Dr. Boussaint and the director.
Yes.
So, and we promised that we would come back to talk about other shows. We just didn't know it would be this show. And so we have been working diligently on it. and to bring it to fruition in the theater. And we've assembled a wonderful all-star cast, just great cast to work with, talented, gifted people to be around and to share the story.
Tell us about that aspect, Dr. Ward. I saw it at the American Theater.
Oh, that's
it
right.
was an absolutely beautiful production.
Thank you.
The scene, the set, everything was well done. The sound, everything was great.
Oh, good.
So it was great to see that professional aspect. So what made you change it up, bring in some new people, so we can talk about some of these new people?
We got some new people who joined us, you know, and we're really excited too. We have some new people, and we have some old people that are with the show, stay with the show. But we have an opportunity now to expose our audiences to some very well-known national figures, national actors, and they've come to share the story and to, do the story with us now. We have one of the returning people here with us today, I should say. Her name is Virgelia Jade, and she plays Blanche. And Blanche is not supposed to be, she's not supposed to be mean, or anything like that. But she comes across. Tells everybody how she feels about things. She doesn't bite her tongue, let's just say. And she has
like somebody I know, but keep talking.
And we know why she sounds that way. Yes, indeed.
Yes, we're really happy to have Virgelia come back.
Yes.
I think Virgilia's been on your show before, actually. And she has, just a wonderful actress to work with. Just gives a lot on stage. She sheds a lot of, I just say, character to the character, and brings it to life for us. And so Virgelia Jade.
Welcome back to Sunday Brunch.
Hey, thank you so much for having me back.
We are excited to have you back, and I am excited that I was able to see your work.
Thank you so much.
I've seen a couple things that you've done.
Yes.
But seeing you, I don't even want to say grow, because you were always great.
Thank you.
But seeing you in a different light. Baby girl is not baby girl.
That's good. That's good.
And I think that's amazing that, to see somebody progress past that, where you're able to play different types of roles and different age ranges. And you made it look real, baby. So
Thank you. And I don't shy away from your observation about growth. As an artist, you want to grow. When you're stagnant, that means you're not learning. And I think as an artist, you should always be learning and observing the world around you and taking what you observed and adding it and putting it on the stage. So I really do appreciate your observation about growth.
You put it all
I
on
lean
the
into
stage.
it. Thank you.
What was it like getting into this role, though?
It was, I play Blanche. I play Blanche Dubois, and she's a school teacher from the South, and she's coming to visit her sister. Come to her sister's home to visit her for the summer, and she immediately becomes a part of this French Quarter community, and basically has a standoff or plays a little game of cat and mouse with her sister's husband, Stanley. And
you heard it right. Her sister's husband.
Yes.
That's exactly what happened.
And but it's been a really great character to play. I was first introduced to the play when I was about 16 years old, and I said to myself, I want to play Blanche. I really want to play her. Yes, even from 16. But I think I needed to be a lot older and to have lived and to experience things. Like, to think about doing that at 16 is like, girl, please. But this has been the perfect season to play her. I see a lot of similarities between me and Blanche. Definitely some differences.
Thank you.
But there are some similarities, and I think I couldn't play this character any other time than right now. When Blanche comes into the show, about 2 years, she's lost several members of her family. She's lost aunts, her father, and her mother. And this past summer, I lost, substantial people in my life as well. And so I feel that with Blanche, and it's almost been very therapeutic to play this character and to find those similarities and to be able to kind of have a cathartic moment myself with playing this part.
You're working through your grief.
Yes, yes.
That's some good work right there.
Yes, thank
That's
you.
some
Thank
good
you.
work.
Think about her.
I'm telling you, there is art therapy, and that's some great work. I really felt like you connected to that character, and it felt very genuine there.
Thank you.
Even so much that you changed, like your dialect and in
Yes.
delivery and the pace in which you deliver your words. I was like, who is this little?
I know. Yes, yes. I love
You
the
walk
dialect.
the whole shebang.
Thank you so much. Thank
Yes,
you.
indeed.
Yes, I think last time we came on, she came on, we were talking about Come Midnight and the fact that she plays a detective in a badass, can I say that on this TV?
Yeah, yeah. It's been said.
A bad
Sunday.
detective. Sorry, Sunday.
You just left church.
I just, amen.
Jesus knows your heart. You understand?
He knows my heart.
He does.
And she was a detective in that series, carrying a gun and protecting the innocent and so forth. A very different dialect,
Indeed.
and a very different goal and objective.
Yes.
And this character is so much different.
A
So
different level of aggression was in that character.
Yes,
See, I
definitely.
remember that work too because my daughter was in that with
Yes,
me. Yeah, so
yes.
indeed.
She was great. Yes.
Awesome.
Well, we have some more.
Yes.
More?
Tell us who else
I
is
wanna
here
keep
with us.
filling your plates with
Yes.
more breakfast this morning. Our next guest artist for A Streetcar Named Desire is actually a Hampton alum. And he hasn't been back to Hampton in almost 20 years.
Really?
He's been out there really doing things. I mean, working on some incredible projects. You may recognize him from Dave or Coach Kelly on The All-American. But I recognize him as one of my favorite actors when he was at Hampton, okay?
What do you remember him playing when he was at Hampton?
He was in A Streetcar Named Desire,
Quit playing.
but he didn't play this character.
Oh, okay.
He played another character.
Okay.
So, and he's going to probably tell you about that. His name is Mustafa Speaks, and he's right here.
Welcome to Sunday Brunch.
What's up, family? What's happening? What's happening?
Yes.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Welcome back home.
Thank you. Thank you.
It will always be your home.
Yes, thank you.
It doesn't matter how long you've been away. It's one of those good things that you can always be welcomed back where you belong.
What was
Yeah.
it like walking back on campus since you haven't been here?
A lot has changed.
Yeah, almost.
Listen, I've been having this conversation with everyone I come in contact with being back on campus. It's surreal. I really can't put it into words. It's just inexplicable because the nostalgia, like this is the ground that made who I am today, made Mustafa Speaks. Because coming from Jersey City, New Jersey, Booker T Projects, you know, there was a certain type of person that I knew. There was a certain type of community that I knew, certain type of black people that I knew. Coming to Hampton University was an extreme culture shock because I've never seen so many beautiful, cultured black people from all over the world.
Absolutely.
And so I was like, wow, this is really who we are because, I mean, we can get
Not
into
what
some
they
real,
tell us, right?
we can get into some real deep stuff, but you know what I mean? It's Sunday, you just got out of church, so we're not going to get too deep, right? But we don't know about who we are and identity and our identity so much because it's been stripped away, and we've also had the power and the privilege to be able to create who we are and in our identities, and that all comes together at a place called Hampton University. So we learn so much from one another and empower one another so much. When I experienced that as a young man, as a student, it enriched this man, and I felt that same thing coming back home to Hampton, but now with new blood, new life, and it's just an honor and a privilege.
Did you go and visit your dorm? Did you do any
The
of those
dorm,
things?
I went to Holmes Hall, I went to Wilder Hall.
In the ghetto.
I'm a marine and environmental science major, and while I was there, I did some pretty fun, pretty incredible stuff while I was
Gibson
there.
over there when you-
Dr. Gibson, yep, she was my teacher.
You did some good work with sharks, didn't you?
Yes, ma'am. I did some good work with sharks. As a student, I did an internship, which ended up being pretty groundbreaking. My team and I successfully discovered a repellent for sharks. And once I did the internship, I started presenting this internationally, and then they funded me. Now I got a full scholarship to do some more work and travel the world, just presenting this research, and it was really, really enriching for me.
Okay,
to do
They didn't know that, but I kind of knew
Yeah, I
that,
see.
so I wanted to throw that out there.
I
People, when
appreciate
when people look at people, they make assumptions about who people are,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't realize that you can be so many different things. You can be great at so many different things. Greatness is just not at one area. So you know.
This is very true,
Yeah.
and it makes me think of men like Paul Robeson, right? That were Renaissance men, beyond their time, beyond their years, right? So it was only Hampton that allowed me to be able to see stuff like that and explore stuff like that. So to answer your question,
It's cool to be a scientist. And all these different
it's cool to be a
things.
scientist, but
Yeah.
it's even better to just be back home, where not only I'm accepted, but where I grew so much.
But how did you make that leap from being a scientist into acting, into the stage and onto the screen?
Yeah, great question. Again, I get this often because it's such a vast difference, right? But I was a student in the Marine Environmental Science program. I was also playing football at the time. So I was a walk-on, and I was putting in work and doing my best to earn a scholarship. And I was on the verge of earning my athletic scholarship when I started doing my research. So I ended up taking the academic scholarship rather than the athletic scholarship, which means I was no longer playing ball. This was after my 04-05 season when we brought home the championship.
Oh, you see the ring.
You see, I know y'all can't see that in the radio world. Y'all don't see it, but this thing is shining right now.
Shining bright like a diamond.
That's blue.
That blue.
But once I stopped playing football, this is when I really delved full force into my marine science. But then an opportunity came because a classmate of mine was sitting right next to me in class and said, "You know what, you should act." I said, "What? Act? Come on, I'm from Jersey. I'm from the hood. I don't act. I'm real all day." She's like, "That's exactly why you should get on stage. You should do something." I said, "Okay," and I just stepped on stage as like an extra, and it was in Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. Do you remember that? Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, and I stepped on stage and felt the energy, felt the passion. This was the only thing that was very similar to being on a football field. And then I saw the craft and the work that came from people like Bruce Lemon, Giovanna Brush, and these are like juggernauts in the theater world when I was coming up. And I was like, wow, you know what? I think I might have found a new passion. And that's where I was bit by the acting bug, and I decided to just take it to the next level.
That sounds amazing.
Who'd you play?
Work with this one right here is
Having the opportunity to work with Dr. Ward, yeah, oh my goodness. I mean, she was a little intimidating for me at first when I was a student, because I just used to hear about Dr. Ward, but then I just fell in love with her and fell in love with how she really just nurtured the department and made sure that we all felt welcome and had everything we needed. So to come back now in A Streetcar Named Desire, which is a project that I was in when I was a student as Mitch, to come back now and play Stanley is just a full circle moment for me. And every time I step on stage in rehearsal, I'm almost on the verge of tears, honestly. I'm not gonna lie to you.
I don't know how I feel about Stanley in this place too, so yeah.
Good.
That means you're doing your job.
Right.
Wait till you get a whiff of this, Stanley. We'll see how you like him then.
I love it. I love it. I love Mustafa.
But thank you so much for coming to the show and coming back to your home by the sea and sharing that, because that's epic right there. That you can be so many different things and still go and grow and come back and share. So
no, absolutely. One of the most rewarding things, if I may just tag on to this, is coming back to this capacity. Playing a character like Coach Kenny on All American. It tells he gives a particular story in that world. So when the students see Mustafa Speaks, they see Coach Kenny. So that feeling that they get from Coach Kenny, they associate with me. So the way that I'm able to communicate with them, the way that I'm able to speak and connect with them is just, beyond words, because of the impact that it has. And that's something as a kid I always wanted to be able to do. Be in a position where I'm filled enough and empowered enough and wise enough to be able to share something with somebody behind me that can use it and empower themselves.
Give him a nice,
It's
nice leg up.
amazing.
I appreciate that.
Exactly.
I'm really proud of him. Very proud of him.
Thank you.
I'm
Glad he's back.
Last question I'm going to ask you for right now, and then we have somebody else who we have with us as well. But last question is, I want to know, what class were you? As far as like, are you ogre? Are you what are?
I know exactly what you meant by that question. I'm QT6, baby. QT6.
Everybody can't be an ogre, all right? Or everybody can't be an ogre. All right? We just accept the others, all right? That's good.
Just
That's good.
accept.
I'm not starting any of that
Wow.
here on the show today. But I just, just for the listeners out there who may want to grab one today.
Absolutely.
That's good. That's good. Well, we have another guest artist with us today.
Do tell us, Dr. Ward.
We're not full yet on Sunday Brunch. This performer, this artist, I met some time ago. And it's so funny because recently we were reminiscing about that. We didn't realize how long it was. And when we met each other, we said, we're going to work together. Oh. We're going to do a project together, Dr. Ward. I said, okay. And then the years go by, and you kind of connect, but you're not connecting. You're connecting, you're not connecting. Finally, we had an opportunity where he was available to come to Hampton.
Timing is everything.
And share all of his richness with us, because he's had so many experiences that we want to make sure that our students hear about his journey, and we want to make sure that our audience can resonate with his extremely, extremely gifted talent. You may know him from as the sheriff and Why Did I Get Married? Because everybody that I told when he's coming, that he was coming, they were like, you mean the sheriff? The sheriff's coming? But he's also known, his most recent works in Greenleaf, Queen Sugar, and Black Hamptons. Matter of fact, they're shooting that when they go back to work. So he's still shooting that. As none other than Lamman Rucker.
Welcome to the table. Welcome to the table. Glad to have you.
Absolutely.
Happy to be here. I'm looking forward to my seconds.
No, that's right. I know that's right. You're hungry, you ready to get it in.
I'm actually hungry. For real.
So tell us about your role in the play and character development and all for you.
Yeah, so for me, I'm playing Mitch, so we got Stanley and Blanche, and again, Stanley's wife is Stella, right, the infamous Stella. So I'm Mitch, one of Stanley's good friends and co-workers. We also shared time in the military together. But he's somebody that kind of ends up taking to Blanche and being really enamored with her. And it's just an interesting journey for him, being in this town at this time, living the life that he's lived. He's caring for a sick mother. And he just really falls into the beauty and captivation of this woman, but also, unfortunately, I think the mystique and the just the I don't know, the phantom energy of this woman that nobody can quite seem to wrap their hands around, seemingly, but Stanley. Stanley seems to really be the only person able to see through this act, but then I think that's the whole part of the play is this an act? Is it true? Is it false? Even if it's false for everybody else, is it true for her? Is she well?
Right,
What has she been through? And I think that ends up being now then something that you start to think of for everybody, which is what I think is interesting. Then it's like, what is Stella's story? What has she really been through? What is it that really populates her relationship and her connection with Stanley? We can judge Stanley on so many things, but similarly, what's Stanley's story? What has he been through? Where has he been? What part of what we see from him is fabrication and posturing, as opposed to what's really the truth and what's really underneath? So the fun for me was exploring that for Mitch, and I think for him though, what you see is actually what you get. And he doesn't really know how to fake it, and I think he's very frustrated by that. He wishes he did. I think that's one of the reasons why he looks up to Stanley. I don't think he thinks he's as strong and as confident and as powerful as Stanley is. Again, unfortunately, not knowing the truth, right, about how vulnerable Stanley probably really is, right? But Mitch is in a very interesting place, I think, in his life and in his story. So I found his arc, his story, his journey during the course of this play, right? To be a really interesting one. And you know, as soon as he sets his eyes on this woman, everything changes.
Awesome.
Everything
It
changes.
sounds like everybody needs a therapist in the play.
Let me tell you. Let me tell you. While I was sitting there
So
watching
Streetcar
this play,
Named Desire Part 2, starring
Dr.
we need
Williams.
that's right.
Yeah,
We're gonna need you in there.
Let me tell you.
We're gonna need you in
It
there.
was a full set of people who needed some medication and some therapy.
Yeah, right. No doubt about it.
Medication and therapy.
Right.
No doubt
Not
about
either
it.
or. Both and.
Yeah.
And because hurt people, and people who have had their boundaries stepped on, they often overlook other people's boundaries. And I just saw a lot of people trying to survive. They weren't thriving.
Yeah.
They were just trying to survive through those moments and try to make it add up. So, and in your character specifically, I kind of felt like he wanted something more.
Yeah.
And he thought he could have that.
Yep.
But
It's
we won't
heartbreaking.
say we won't say any more about
It's
that.
like-
They need to go
it's-
and see the show so
it's-
that they
it's
can fully
heartbreaking.
appreciate that. But I think the mental health piece really rings true, and what happens when we don't address our issues, when we try to sweep them under the rug or pretend like they're not an issue, or like, you know, we're coming out of COVID, maybe going, I don't know, but we wore a lot of masks. So when people are pretending or hiding behind these facades or these masks,
Literally and figuratively.
right? What happens? Where, you know, things start to become overwhelming and they pile up on top of each other, and you can lose your mind, literally.
You will get boxed out of your mind.
Literally.
So what is it like for you all as actors, kind of managing your own mental health, kind of falling into different characters, falling out of different characters? You know, in the mental health field, we diagnose folks like that. You know?
We call it bipolar.
Exactly. Dissociative disorder, you know.
Right. You up, down, all around.
We call it work.
Exactly.
You call it art. You call it art. You call it art.
But what is it like for you all in terms of just managing your own mental health, from just having to develop a character, but then also balancing your personal lives?
No, it's a real thing. It's a real thing. And I'll say it's twofold. I think what's interesting about it, the dichotomy of it, is that it actually is part of our therapy, I think.
Okay.
It's also one of the places where not everybody gets a chance to funnel some of these energies out of them. And I think part of what can be very damaging for a lot of people is they don't have the arts in their lives. They don't have literature. Well, they have literature at their disposal,
They don't
you know,
use
at
it.
least we can say, but we don't always use it. Or even we might have the literature, but literature for me didn't come alive until I saw it come alive on stage. So history class for me was boring as hell until I saw history come to life in right? And fifth dimensionally, for that matter, in front of me on stage, real people, real actors interpreting the period, and then you're like, oh, these are just regular people.
Right.
Just because this is, 8th century, right? Africa, or, the Ming Dynasty and wherever, or, medieval period of Europe, or these are just people. And then you start being able to sift through the language, and you're like, oh, all they're talking about is, so the simplicity of it, I think all of it comes down to the human experience. So I think there's something about that exposure, something about access to this art form that actually helps you process it in a way that I think can be healthier than it is if you don't have these tools, if that makes any sense, right? Then the other thing, though, however, and unfortunately we hear about this more often, are the people who can't leave it at work. Or the people who, through the journey of this work, what it does is it amplifies the issues they already have, that are already there. And for some of them, they've tried to hide behind these characters, or hide behind the sunglasses while they're in concert, hide behind the costumes and the makeup and this and the third, when the reality is they have so many things they haven't dealt with or resolved or healed from. And through the journey of the trials and tribulations of other people, you're triggered. And it just kind of amplifies your mess that you have never really taken the time to clean up. So if you're not aware of that, first of all, right, it can catch you by surprise.
Yes.
Then two, if you don't have other tools and other mechanisms to help you work through it, right? And sometimes those tools don't exist within our own industry, which is part of what has been made very clear, much clearer over the years. Now, our benefits actually cover mental health, and they cover, you can actually now go to counseling and have your benefits cover, you know, cover that kind of, right, that kind of access to care. That kind of thing didn't happen. So what did most people do? You know, they're doing lines in there, you know, in the trailer, or they're, you know, drinking or binging, or, you know, their therapy is each other, and that's not healthy, you know, because this, you know, that codependence and that this trauma bonding and all this kind of stuff that's happening, it just creates a whole nother kind of, you know, layer, you know, and list of problems, right? So, so for me, thankfully, it's been, you know, it's the first, which is I've learned from all the drama and all the stuff that all these other people have been through and all these stories.
You learn
not to do that.
You learn vicariously
and
through
if
them.
I want to act a fool, I can act a fool through him and leave it there. And now I know better. You know? But that's also
without
been
the
part.
consequences.
But then I've realized that part of my purpose has been to give those men dignity and to honor those men who don't have it together, are trying to figure it out. And I think that's what most people can identify with. So if he's been a good guy, then I think you might have mentioned this the other day, Dr. Ward. It's like if he's a good guy, what about him isn't so good, right? It's like if he's a bad guy, where's his humanity, right? That kind of a thing. Where's his heart? There's a good guy in every villain. There's a good guy. So that's the fun. Is like, okay, what makes him that way? Right? What has he been through? What's his life story? And that's the work that we get to do. That's the homework. That's what makes actors bring the level of depth to a story. We bring that off the page. We give these characters skin and bone and blood and relatives and birth dates and all that. My characters have birth dates, middle names, everything.
I know that.
You know what I'm saying? You know, so it's like, so that's the thing. It's
you have to make it real.
Exactly, and you want to create real people that other people will also understand and identify with. So then the work that we're doing, really, we're microcosms of so many other people's, you know, right, identifications. And then you just have to have at least your own personal process of then shedding that skin, taking that costume off, washing that makeup off your face or whatever, and leave it in the dressing room. Leave it in the trailer, leave it at work. Otherwise, I'd be taking Jacob Greenleaf's drama home to my wife. You know what I'm saying? You understand what I'm saying?
Leading on people who never cut
Listen.
I'm really thinking that
it happens all the time. So if you don't, you know, otherwise by the time you get home, you know, you up here with this wife nonsense. You be done flip the switch on your own lady.
Like, not it.
Yeah, on your own woman when she ain't do nothing to you. But this is the 20th time you heard, you know, that tone, and you about to lose your mind. You know, you about to lose your mind. You know?
You wanted was a drink.
And she deserves a pass. Right. But no, like Carissa done got me to the point where, you know, like that child. Woo.
Where have you been?
And then there's that. And then there's that. There's being away from your family. There's being away from your loved ones. And the stress, the guilt, the loneliness that even comes along with that we all have to deal with, right? And then you're dealing with that on top of, wow, now I gotta live through all this other person's stuff, and then I still gotta deal with, you know, what I really have to deal with, and how you set your priorities and how you prioritize yourself, you know, like it's a thing, and
I can see that.
That also needs to be part of our training process, and it's not enough of how we train our actors and technicians and performers. We do so much more focus just on the technique and this history and, you know, all this other stuff, but we don't talk enough about the business of things, and we definitely don't talk enough about this kind of life skills component and this self-help, self-preservation, you know, self-restoration kind of component, you know, because that resilience is so key. And if it's not there, it doesn't matter how brilliant you are. It doesn't matter how successful you become, you know.
People don't want to deal
things
with you.
will completely fall apart if you don't know how to manage how all of that is happening here. You know?
And on top of that, your life is actually played out
all the time
in the media.
For some people,
yeah.
Woo, yeah.
You know, if you turn the TV on and that's all you start to see, you know, the lives of celebrities just kind of unfolding, you know, good, bad, or indifferent, you know, and unfortunately we live in a time where the negative is sensationalized and it sells, you know.
Sometimes you had enough of life for that day.
Exactly.
Life is life.
Yeah.
You know, essentially. And then here you see this message, you see this note, or, you know, you don't even know these individuals.
And that's just as unhealthy for the public.
Yes.
You know, and I think that's where we got to be really careful about, you know, even regardless of how much we point fingers, we could point fingers at the media, and something, right, for sensationalizing things the way you do. But we also definitely have to make sure that we're taking, and this is even us as artists, right? It's how much we, being careful what we absorb and what we take on. And there are times where when I coach, I tell actors all the time, you can't say yes to everything. It might be a great job, it might be a great opportunity. You got to be very self-aware of your wellness and your capacity, because it can be great, but that might not be the right job for you right now, right? So similarly, you know, people got to back up off these phones. Like there's times where I'm like, I'm not watching the news today.
Yes.
You know, times I make, like there's certain apps, I don't have them on my phone. I'm not spending all day on Instagram.
I don't need the notifications coming through.
Exactly, right? So similarly, all that other foolishness that's coming at you about everybody else's sometimes misbehavior and irresponsible behavior. But even the stuff that's just naturally what people are going to go through, there can be so much of it, it can start to, you know, impact you, and it's not even your stuff. So you got to learn how to, you know, you got to create some boundaries and some barriers to say, you know, I'm not doing that. I'm not taking that on. I gotta, you know, I gotta take care of my mental. So.
And still stay present.
Yeah, and still be informed just the same. Right. Otherwise, you won't know what's going on in the world. There have been a couple times I've been like, who? What happened?
What happened? Exactly. Right.
Which is okay. Which is okay.
Hey, sometimes I'm perfectly fine with it. I'll make sure I get caught up.
Right.
You know what I mean? So you're not missing the things that do are important. And again, like Mustafa's you know, speaking to, I'm very active in community. I'm very active in policy. I'm very active in, you know, community empowerment and so forth. And so you gotta always be engaged and accessible and involved, and keep your ear to the street. And never, you know, I get my hands dirty all the time. But just the same, you gotta know when to step back, step away, and make sure that, you know, you're good, so that you can continue to do God's work. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And have a good support system, I can imagine. People in your corner that can keep you clued in for the times that you have to tap out. Because I think it's very similar to other people's jobs. When you have to be very present somewhere, that means something else you're not going to be present for. So you need people who are going to cover you when you're not.
And that you're going to be present for. Otherwise, you're present for all your stuff and, you know, your job and what you do, and present for everybody else's mess that's coming at you, and you're, you know, absorbing, but you're not present for your own friends and family and loved ones. You know what I mean? Yeah, so you don't really get what you need from that, and you're not really there, you know, for them as you should. It's a very difficult balance. But it's possible, it's feasible, it's accessible, it's attainable. You just gotta, you know, you gotta learn, and you gotta practice it. And a lot of it's also gonna be trial and error, like anything else. You know, so we don't want you. I'm about to give away the story. We don't want you like going through the things that we don't want you to end up like Blanche. We don't want you to end up like Blanche.
When we know better, we do better, or at least we should. And that's the good part about education and understanding mental health, that when you know better, you can do something about it. But if you ignore it and you do nothing about it, it doesn't change. You know, that elevator is not coming, you're going to have to take the steps. And so I think that's kind of where Blanche found herself.
Yes. Definitely.
On the steps.
Yeah.
Taking the steps. But Mustafa, I want to ask you, what do you do to balance things out? Because showing up and having to be places, we don't always feel like we want to be places sometimes, but you're mandated to be places. How do you mentally get prepared to be there and push through those things?
Well, for me personally, I have a creed that I live by, and it's called SS3D, right? SS3D lifestyle, and that represents stand strong in the 3 dimensions of your being, your mind, body, and spirit. And this was something that I developed, the moniker I developed really early on in my life because of the men that I had in my life. My father and my 4 uncles. I call them my 5 kings.
Okay.
And just because of the community I grew up in, the family I grew up in. And the reason why this moniker, this lifestyle is so important for me is because no matter what it is, no matter what field I'm in, no matter what profession I'm in, no matter what failures I've had, no matter what successes I've had, those things change. The only thing that's going to remain the same is my relationship with myself and my relationship with my higher power, right? So when I understand that if I stand strong in those 3 dimensions, do everything that I can to empower my mind, read, study, push myself in my profession. If I do everything I can in my body, work out every day, I train religiously, and we all know what that does to you mentally and emotionally when you train physically. And then do everything that I can to empower my spirit, which is love on myself, love on my family, sit and do nothing with my children, just hug on my wife, sit in nature and do nothing. If I'm doing all those 3 things, and journaling, writing, if I do those 3 things each day, right, even if it's just a little, no matter what comes at me, work-wise, what character I have, work-wise, what person give me some BS road rage, or what happens
I'm sure
in my
LA.
relationship, I'm always gonna have some kind of stasis. And I seek balance in everything that I do. So my lifestyle is the crux of everything. So when I approach my work and how I show up every day is I say, okay, what's true, what's real, what's reality? Because what I've had to experience in life, what's true and what's real for me, everything else is champagne problems, because I know what it's like to, go through some real stuff, real stuff. So everything else, I know I can sift through and set it aside. I can compartmentalize in a healthy way. I can disassociate in a healthy way, right? The problem comes when you're unaware, when you're not aware that a problem is a problem. When you really truly believe that this element that you have or things that you're going through in your life is the way it's supposed to be because of some warped perception. But you need the people around you, as you spoke to, you need the right people around you to act as your guidepost, to act as your lighthouse, if you will, to safety, to reality. And there were certain people in the play, certain characters in the play that sought to help the other person be that lighthouse. So when it comes to me, my lighthouse is my lifestyle. So no matter what character I play, what profession I'm in, whether it's marine environmental science, whether it's health and fitness or entertainment, I know where I'm going because I hold on to those 3 things. Make sure I empower my mind, my body, and my spirit. Everything else will pass.
That's good stuff.
That's
Balance.
good. Yeah, and you have to have it, because one of the things that I see when you hear of all of the stories of the different celebrities and stuff like that or whatever, they're all, it seems like they're running from something. They're running from their problems. And I know we talk about that in therapy, that's one of the things I always share with my patients. The bottom line is no matter where you go, there you are.
Whatever you're running from is what you're running to.
Exactly. It's gonna be there when you get there. So you really have to sit down and figure this stuff out, and finding a way to do this without seeking other substances, other relationships and things of that nature or whatever. You really have to, create those mantras like you guys have to balance this thing. That's the only way that I see not just surviving what you all do, but just surviving life in general. It's huge.
I'm curious to know, not sorry to cut you off, but I'm curious to know what your thoughts are on and even Jade too, tap in here, what your thoughts are on the self-judgment part, because we all have shadows, we all have demons, but we want to do our best just to show the best part of us. We always want to show the best part of us. So how do you go about, how would we go about embracing that flaw, that darkness, in order to overcome it and really appreciate the yin and yang of our lives?
I would say it depends on what type of darkness it is. Because some people's darkness, I don't try to get them to embrace. I want you to leave that right where you found that. That's not for you. That's not what you need in your life. And sometimes it's the idea of you have to be something or be a certain type of thing. That's more of the conversation you have with the individual. Why is this important? What does that mean for you? Because success is different for different people. Happiness is different for different people. So understanding what is this darkness, where is this darkness come from? And it's not our feelings that get us in trouble, it's what we do with them. So it's understanding, okay, what are you going to do with this darkness? So we all have feelings, but what do you do with these feelings? How does that manifest? Yeah, what comes, where does it go?
And clinically, sometimes not necessarily getting to the why, but also looking at the trauma that's probably occurred in that person's life and asking what happened to you, and really focusing on that.
Who hurt you?
Exactly, so that they can sit and really begin to write a new narrative. You know, sometimes you may have someone who has experienced something as a child that was beyond their control, but they have internalized that situation and they're holding on to it. Exactly. Yeah. And so really helping them to find balance that, one, you were a child, you had no control over the situation, so now we have to reframe that narrative in their mind and help them begin to speak those things into existence so that they can then begin to let it go. The brain, of course, is so powerful, it won't let you forget it, but it can reframe how you look at it.
And what you do with that information. You could be the victor and not the victim. And you can change that mindset. If we can get our minds right, then our lives will definitely follow. It will definitely follow. And then the other part is, it changes everything. And then also understanding what is that darkness that they're defining, because it may not actually be dark. You know, sometimes people have been called something based on what somebody else has perceived, but that doesn't make it actually so. So just because they call you that doesn't mean that's who you are.
Right, they've agreed to it, and that's something that
they've internalized it.
We were talking about I know what it was with Halloween coming up. We're talking about black cats and that kind of stuff. I was like, I never agreed to a black cat being bad luck. Black cats are good luck to me. You know, and I've always believed that, and every time I see one, I'm like, ooh.
What's up?
That's good luck, you know? No, I'm serious. I'm like, that's good luck. You know, so sometimes it's little stuff like that, little ways that I've
Perception
almost like,
is everything.
It's all a mind game, so to speak. You know, so if you can trick yourself into believing some of the foolishness you believe, then why can't you trick yourself into saying, you know what, this thing that somebody has tried to teach you is a bad thing, you know, just flip it. Turn it into something positive, and then every time it happens, it's something that can actually make you smile, as opposed to something that you've agreed to, and then subconsciously, it's got you, again, also agreeing to this other idea that what's black is bad, right? So how that impacts your self-concept is even greater than just how you perceive this animal. You know what I mean? So,
and it's the point that you all just made that makes this play so exciting and so intriguing, because each of these characters are dealing with the perceptions from other people. Stanley is deemed bad because of the perception from Blanche and Stella. You know, Blanche is deemed bad because of the perception from Stanley, you know, in his upbringing, and everybody else, right? And we can bring that, of course, to real life. Why what's bad and what's good, what's acceptable, what's not acceptable. Of course, we have to have a baseline, right? Let's not
kill everybody.
Let's not think. But you have to have a baseline. But this play allows us to explore those questions within ourselves through each character, and this is one of the reasons why I jumped at the opportunity to be part of it. And not only that, jumped at the opportunity to be a part of it under the direction of Dr. Boysaw and Dr. Ward, because of who they are as professionals and as women with their perspectives.
And Dr. Boysaw did a great job of bringing a new element into this work. And when we had her on the show, she was talking about that, and so I was very thrilled to see what that was going to look like. I like that art is not stagnant, that it continues to evolve, and that you can see the same thing multiple times and get different, you know, lessons, and depending on where you are in your life at that time or what's happening around, you can get different things from that same piece of art.
Absolutely amazing.
So I think that's an interesting point too. And what's interesting to me is the more I hear about what the early experience was like when they did this, and then how much just by adding, some slightly different energy, how different it is. And you got to deal with both of us. Yeah. So I wonder what this is like for her, right?
So curious. Yeah. I would love to hear yours.
About comparison per se, but just knowing, knowing the process as we do, like one variable changes and so many other things, change. So I'm almost jealous of her because no, seriously, because there've been times where I'm like, oh man, I would love to do that again, that exact thing, but just change this or swap. What if that person were different, or what if, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I think it's really a really cool exercise to do that, do the same thing. But soon as one particular actor changes or something changes, a whole nother thing sometimes can come to life. So, I'm really curious.
Is it possible? Do we have time for her to speak to that? I would love to.
Have a few
because we spoke to that a little bit in rehearsal when she just shared some things. So I would love to hear more.
Well, I don't know why. Me and the actress who plays Stella, we both said, I don't know why we didn't think that this would change our characters so much. Like, I know you said you saw the production. I would say that the Blanche that you saw is very different from the Blanche that you'll see next week because of these two gentlemen being added to the mix. And it's been really fun as an actor to redefine who she is. And I remember talking to Mustafa about, there's a certain scene that traditionally is played one way within our play. And the way that we played it when we were at the American is very different from what we found in rehearsal for the past week. And I'm really interested to see how the audience reacts to it. I know as an artist for a while I was kind of struggling with it because it's, like I said, I think I can say this. It deals with sex, because this show is very sexy. All right, and
I told you, baby girl was not baby girl anymore.
It has an undertone of sex there, and
it's an overtone.
And that walk is real.
It's an overtone.
That walk is real. Yeah, bitch, it's a problem for Mitch.
I've seen it.
It's a problem.
Not you in that play, but I've seen.
Yeah. So I was really nervous about it as an actor. Like, how can we make that authentic? How can we stay true to the script, to what Tennessee Williams brought to it? And we just found that way of just exploring and finding a way to justify everything. And I couldn't have found this new Blanche without these two gentlemen. I enjoyed the Blanche that I had.
I'm scared to see this new Blanche because God,
she is. Yes,
2.0.
Yes, she is. But I enjoyed the Blanche that I, discovered 2 weeks ago. But I really, really cannot wait for everyone to see this brand new Blanche and to embrace that a woman is doing this. I think sometimes we have this perception of how women are supposed to act. And Blanche kind of, strays away from that. So I have noticed that some people have these biases and these perceptions and views of Blanche. But to me, I've found her to be, I understand her. Like, I get that. I get why you're doing it like
scared.
that. She's I'm scared.
I'm very
but
scared.
I get that. I get that she leans into her darkness, And it's been really fun to play. And as an actor, that's what you want to do. You don't want to play anything that's close to you.
Let me tell you, she was not boring.
Well, I did my job then.
You did your job, and then so she was not boring. It was over so quickly. And that's always a good feeling when you're like, you leave people wanting more, and so that's always great. Before we run out of time though, because this has been an amazing show, you do have to tell people, Dr. Ward too, how they can see the show.
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. First of all, we want to tell everyone that it runs October 25th and 27th. At 7 o'clock in the Little Theater, the newly renovated Little Theater Armstrong Hall on Hampton University's campus. And you can get your tickets by going to hamptonurep.org and it'll take you right to the site to get your tickets. And we want to see you there.
Awesome.
See you enjoy these wonderful
Word.
performances.
Beat me there.
Yes.
Beat me there. I'm looking
Neighbors.
forward to seeing these different characters and seeing if it's the same kind of feeling.
Tell everybody in church to pull up.
All right. All right.
And then go vote afterwards.
Exactly.
All right. Yeah, it would be that next Tuesday.
Yes.
Right.
Exactly.
Excellent.
Well,
Can't wait.
Well, it's definitely been a great time at the table, and we want to thank you all for being here with us. I am Dr. Richard Mason.
I'm Dr. Tamara Williams.
And thank you for joining us right here on Smooth 88.1 WHOV.
The essence of HU.
Keep your fork.
Someday we'll be able to measure the power of words. I think they are things. I think they get on the walls. They get in your wallpaper. They get in your rugs, in your upholstery, in your clothes, and finally into you.
Thank you for joining us at the table.
Tune in next Sunday at 1 p.m. for more delicious topical recipes for life on the Sunday Brunch.
On Smooth 88.1 WHOV.